All right, welcome to the franchise time machine. I just realized I cannot hear myself, so let me fix that real quick. Okay, now I should be able to hear myself. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, well, I hope everyone had a good Mother's Day. We're going to do a Mother's Day themed sim tonight. And I had an idea for a Mother's Day sim I'd like to do, but I didn't have enough time to get it organized for this year because I just thought of it the other day. I'll go into when Ezra gets in here because I'll be interested to hear Ezra's thoughts on it because it would involve getting help from a bunch of other affiliate streamers and you, our late night community members as well. But I thought it would be a fun sim to do. Anyway, um, I guess let me get a pack giveaway form going here because we know we're gonna have to do one, and we're gonna base it on the creator roster form. I like that. I like that form quite a bit. It's uh, it's useful because it's set up for multiple. It can be used for multiple types of set. Oh wait, sorry. I need to copy this. All right, I'll put this up in the chat in a second here. All right. Put the pack giveaway form into the stream. There we go. So tonight's stream, we will be celebrating Mother's Day. Revisiting the 1986 season and my late mother's favorite team, the 1986 New York Mets. We will add some clones of her favorite players: Gary Carter, rest in peace, and Ron Darling. So how many versions of Carter will add and how many versions of Ron Darling will add will kind of determine during the stream. Okay, so closest answer wins. We're not using Price is Right rules. So you can be over and still win. We do a survivor style section to identify first place only, and not even then, not always first place, but only first place can be determined by the survivor style section. Whatever places are left, whether it's just second place or first and second are still left, everyone is back in for the second section, which is the it's more of a numerical section. And for that one, it's whoever gets the most closest answers wins. And if there's still a tie in that, it's whoever within the tied people, whoever got the latest answer right wins. So I also need to add a couple questions that I've noticed we're missing. Is we're going to add pitcher war and batter war. Oh shoot, I did not mean to do that. Can I undo that? Yes, I can. Okay. I meant to duplicate this question. Okay, we're going to add highest batter war and highest pitcher war to the numerical questions. Um, I think these questions, the major league rank for offensive, defensive categories, I think this is more interesting in a team like this that's not going to be number one everywhere like it is for Creator Roster, and isn't going to be 30th everywhere. So I am going to keep these for this this question for this pack giveaway. It is a lot of questions, but the tie breaks have been really fun to do, so I'm gonna keep them. And let's see. So I think that's good. So the idea was, I know my mom's favorite players, but I thought it would be fun if I asked everyone, the other affiliate streamers and our late night community members, who was your, who is or was your mother's favorite player, and then we can make a team of all our mother's favorite players, which I think would be a fun team to play. Also, this season wouldn't have been the time to do it anyway because we still don't have the single season import ability yet in OOTP that OOTP Developments is working on for all of us. I think that sim will be better in that season. The reason I could do this one tonight is because when we're in the 1986 season, we don't have to import anybody. Ezra Denny, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. Yes, Ezra. So, my late mother's favorite baseball team was the 86 Mets. And of course, it's my fault because I was becoming a big baseball fan. I started really getting into the Mets around 1984, 85, when Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden came up, and there was a lot of excitement around these younger players. We got Keith Hernandez, and then Gary Carter came over from the Expos, and it all culminated in the 1986 Mets World Series, which by the time we got to the postseason, my viewing the Mets constantly had converted my parents into Mets fans as well. Kitty Poo Poo, thank you for the subscription. 8 months of poor decision making. Like Ezra Denny, I do question the sanity of anyone who subscribes to this uh, this stream, but I do appreciate it. And for those of you who are interested in uh, the channel games, the games we play on our channel that are open to our community, anyone with a channel point redemption can play. As a subscriber, Kitty Poo Poo will get channel points faster. That is just a Twitch thing. But I also offer a discounted channel point redemption for subscribers as a way of thanking you for your support. And so, Kitty Poo Poo, thank you for your ongoing support. I really appreciate it. So, Ezra, before you leave, because I know it is late and you do have to go, but what I'd like to do for next year for Mother's Day 2026 is I want to assemble a team of the OOTP affiliates and other people in my late night chat community, their mother's favorite players. So my mom's favorite players were Gary Carter and Ron Darling from that 86 Mets team. I know your mother was not a big baseball fan because I love that story you tell about how you told your mom baseball games were 9 innings. And so when there's an extra inning game, she started packing up at the end of the ninth. So your mother might not have a favorite baseball player, but if there is a mother who is important to you in your life who might have a favorite player, well, that's fine. Tigers are welcome. We can have Rachel's mother's favorite player. Like I know Dr. Dynastic has said that his mother's favorite player is Stan Musial, but also might also be Bob Gibson. So if there's room, we could include both. Yeah, Clay Dog, that's pretty good. Clay Dog's my favorite player was Clay Dog. Ezra Denny's mother's least favorite player, Ezra Denny. So that's what I'd like to do for next season. By then, we should have. I mean, hopefully we'll have it pretty soon, but we'll have the ability to import specific single season versions of a player instead of the 3-year blend. So I think it'll be even better for those historic player imports, and it gives me plenty of time to gather the information on who everyone's mother's favorite players, other than their own sons, might have been. Good point there made there by Clay Dog. So speaking of Clay Dog, one of the things we're going to do tonight before the sim is we're going to check out the results of today's pop-up. Not the perfect draft, but the traditional pop-up. Which I was in. My team made it to round 4, where I was promised a matchup against Clay Dog's team. But when it turned out that was incorrect, my team lost all morale and just basically gave up. And we didn't get past round 4. Hado 1114, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. But we're gonna look in on that and see the results of that that pop-up tournament. But let's get the pack giveaway form up in the chat so that we stream late. People who have to go to bed or are in other time zones and have to go to work or whatever, they can still submit a form and win. You do not have to be present to win. So again, we're going to be revisiting the 1986 Mets. This is the form. The only thing we're going to change is we're going to add some clones of her favorite players, Gary Carter, who it still amazes me that as crazy as that team was, and ESPN has a great 4-part series, I believe, on the 86 Mets that covers some of the craziness. I think a lot of the craziness is pretty well known. It was the era of uh, certain pharmaceutical, recreational pharmaceuticals being popular in general, and especially with the Mets. Um, and it's and you know it might just be perception or optics, but Gary Carter seemed to be the most clean living of all those Mets. And so it felt like especially surprising and tragic that he passed away so young. So Gary Carter and Ron Darling will be adding some clones of her favorite players to the team. Ron Darling will essentially clones of Ron Darling will basically replace most of the right-hander relief pitchers on that team, and we'll probably leave the rotation intact. Um, and then Gary Carter, of course, a second one clone will be the backup catcher. So we'll have a starting Gary Carter and a backup Gary Carter. He had first base eligibility in the game, but of course Keith Hernandez is well established there. But when I looked it up in BREF, I thought this was interesting. Let me put BREF up on the screen for you here, so you can see what I was seeing. Let me find the BREF scene. Again, I'm not very good at OBS, so okay, here's Gary Carter. Passed away at age 57. Almost 50, 58, but still relatively young. The kid. So 86. I thought this was interesting. Now, after the slash line means you only played 10 or fewer games at that position. But in 86, of course, he played catcher very well. First base, left field, right field, third base. H also means he pitched hit. So we could potentially give him some left and right field abilities. And left field was a weak spot for the 87 Mets. George Foster, I believe, played left field for most of that season, at least the early parts of the season. How do I get to the Mets, the 86 Mets? I think if I click here. There we go. So yeah, George Foster, who was not great. I mean, he had a great peak part of his career, but by 86 he was washed. 227 average, 718 OPS. Right, so having a Gary Carter in left field would actually be pretty awesome. 24 home runs, 255 average, 776 OPS. Right field, Darryl Strawberry's established there. Even third base, I mean, Ray Knight did hit 298, but a Gary Carter backing up at third base might be cool. So I think we'll go ahead and maybe add a couple more versions of Gary Carter there as well. But we really have to look at in the game because it's an opening day roster that's in the game. And so we'll have to work with what we have there. But that's why the form says, like, we're going to have to determine this during the stream. So if you're going to have to fill it out and run, you can still win because you don't have to be present to win. But you might have to do a little guessing on how many Carters are going to pull in and how many Ron Darlings. Your OTP login ID, this is how we'll get you your packs if you win from OTP Developments. So please make sure it is case sensitive, so make sure the spelling and capitalization are correct. And then again, this is a form we use for multiple games, so some of these questions should be pretty easy. Will this team have the lowest regular season win percentage in the majors? Will it have the lowest regular season win percentage in its sub-league? In this case, it'll be the NL. You know what? To make it more generic, I'll put AL or NL. So I don't have to edit it every time. And this should say worst in its sub-league. Sub-league is a term OOTP uses for AL or NL because the league is Major League Baseball. Will it finish last in its division? Will it have a regular season record below 500? Will it make, now on the good side, will it make the playoffs? Will it make its division? 86 actually no no wild card, so you have to win your division. So this is a bit of a, I don't mean it to be a trick question, but if you guess yes for one, you should be guessing yes for the other. Will it make the World Series? There is an NLCS and an ALCS. Will it win the World Series? Will a player on this team win the Cy Young Award? Now, don't forget, it's not just Ron Darling. There's a Bobby Ojeda, there's a Dwight Gooden, Sid Fernandez. There are some very good pitchers on this team. Will a player on this team win the MVP? And again, we do not let pitchers win the MVP award. How many regular season games will this team win? This is the last question in the Survivor Style section. How many games behind will finish in this division? If you think it's going to win the division, put 0. And then these are the mouse hover questions. I think these are very interesting for teams like this that are not creator roster teams. They're going to be first and everything. They're not lowball teams. They'll be 30th and everything. They're going to be kind of in the upper middle, right, of a lot of these rankings. So where will this team rank first to 30th in runs scored, batting average? Oh, and you know what? It's not 30 in 1986. How many? I have to actually don't remember exactly how many in 86 were in the majors. I'm going to have to count. I mean, I probably should know, but I lose track of when the expansions happened and how many teams came in each time. All right, so there were 14 in the NL, or in the AL. Yeah, there were still 12 in the NL at that time. So there are 26 teams. So let me update the form accordingly. Now, there are a lot of questions, but it has made the tie-break part of the stream very fun. So I'm gonna stick with it. The feedback and messages I've got and what I've asked in chat has been overwhelmingly towards the positive, despite the amount of time it might take to fill out the form. So, and as long as I'm having fun doing it, I'm very inclined to leave it like this. So, yeah. So first to 26. Now again, this will be more interesting than lowball or a regular creator roster because we should have a lot of numbers that are more towards the middle, and you can't just go first on everything or 26 on everything and get it right. All right, and then we have highest batter war, most home runs hit by the player on this team, and then with at least 300 plate appearances, lowest and high in batting average, lowest and highest OPS, and then highest strikeout percentage. In lowball, we did have a scrub player hit 150 and strike out 49.9% of the time. At least he can always say he didn't strike out 50% of the time. It was 49.9%. Then on the pitcher side, highest pitcher war, most strikeouts by a pitcher on the team, at least 100 innings pitched, highest and lowest ERA, highest and lowest WHIP, and then the highest/worst home runs per 9 given up with at least 100 innings pitched. So those are the questions for our Mother's Day themed sim. If you haven't already and it's not too late, don't forget to call and wish your mothers a happy Mother's Day. Those of you still fortunate enough to have your mothers with us, all right. Let me put this in the chat. Cardinals fan, I don't know. You can always check the VOD. The VOD stay up for a while. I do remember, since you had to leave early and you had to guess, I do think you got some of the answers right. So, but yeah, you probably have to check the VOD. Let's see. I almost did a raid. Link to form for tonight's 10-pack giveaway. All right, good luck, everybody. And when you think about how long the form is, how many questions are in the end, each one of those questions is a chance for you to get a point to win that tiebreak. So think about it that way. More chances for you to catch up or build the lead. And while you do that, let me pull up the game and let's take a peek into first live silver. Oh, I've been knocked out. I was in live silver until a couple minutes ago. Let's see what happened. Anytime we're under 20 hours to the next version of that tournament, and I'm still in, I'm like, oh, that's good. We're at least probably in the third round or so. So yeah, we did make it the third round, but then we got knocked out. So we'll at least get a few PTCS points. But this is also a pack tournament. So we're only getting one historic silver pack, but we'll get a few PTCS points. So that'll be nice. But the big thing we wanted to take a peek at is today's traditional pop-up tournament. Traditional meaning non-perfect draft. So let me go ahead and find that. I think it's on this account. I'm pretty sure it's on this account. In case I have to switch accounts, let me just put the title page back up. Oh yeah, here it is. This is a cap tournament. This account does not have many common variants. The only variants it has are the ones that it has pulled in packs. And this team only plays silver. But it was a gold or lower tournament, I think. So we made it to round 4, which is pretty good. With round 4, that's 9th to 16th, we get our perfect points back. It was a 1,000 perfect point tournament. We'll get 2 gold packs. And I don't know if we get any PTCS points for this, but that's a pretty good run. But my team lost momentum and motivation because they were told by Claydog in the chat that, hey, we're going to meet, if we both win all of our rounds, we'll meet in the 4th round. And I told my team that, and they were very excited. They're very excited. They're gonna play Uncle Claydog in the 4th round. And they get there, they're like, hey, where's Claydog? We thought we were playing him. Did they get knocked out? I'm like, no, I know they didn't get knocked out. They're like, I think we would have heard if they. And I'm like, no, look, guys, I have some bad news for you. It turns out, I know Claydog told us we were going to meet in round 4. It's actually round 5 we would be meeting it. And then, like, the faces just sank. The shoulders slumped. And I was like, oh, we are done. There's no way we're getting out of this round. the morale is just crushed. So we did lose that series 5-3. I was hoping that the motivation to just one more round for this showdown might carry the day. But it's one of those where, like, they've been looking forward to it so much that they're just so disappointed. So let's see. So Clay Dog did make it to the fourth round. Would have met us in the fourth round. But they were playing someone else. But then look, then they go to the fifth round. They go to the fifth round. Here's the spoiler alert. Clay Dog wins it all. I meant to go show the path there, but oops. Clay Dog won the whole thing. Clay Dog won a pop-up. So we'll go over Clay Dog's path in the second year, but let's check out what Clay Dog won. 2 perfect packs and 50,000 perfect points. Clay Dog, did you rip your perfect packs yet? I'd be curious to know what you got in your perfect packs. Yeah, you're rich. You've got a Ray Shock duplicate and a I like that the live perfect doesn't even get named. Come on, I think at least during the PT live era, it's worth naming the live perfect. Oh, it wasn't one of the big ones? Okay, fair enough. So a live perfect, a Ray Shock duplicate, and 50,000 perfect points. And I don't know, does anyone know if pop-ups go towards PTCS? I don't think they do, because I don't think they get a category on them. It was Class A. Okay. Well, even if you just quick sell it, that ups your winnings to 70,000 perfect points. So yeah, heck of a day for Clay Dog. Let's check out the tournament run here. Sweeps the first round. Oh, I didn't hear about this from Clay Dog. First round bye. Hey, Wingood, we've got a pack giveaway form pinned to the chat, and we're looking at Clay Dog's pop-up championship run here. So here's the thing about first round buys, though. It's not just that you get a buy. Your team still plays, and that means you will have pitchers and batters that have the hot streak flame on them. I didn't think about this until recently, until I was on the winning side of a buy like that. And I was like, oh, I'm actually going to the next round now with a couple of players who are hot. And at least what we heard from OOTP developments is, because I specifically asked the question, are the flame and the snowflake just descriptive of what has happened, or are they also predictive? And I forget in which platform I asked this question and was told the answer, but I was told the answer is it is predictive, and it goes away when RNG eventually causes a hot streak to end or the cold streak to end. So apparently it does give a boost or a nerfing once you earn that. So it's like, oh, not only do you get a first round bye, you get a couple players hot. Okay, so Clay Dog, we need to ask again then, because if Spore is saying it's not predictive, and the problem is I can't remember in what place. I almost said in what forum, but the forums are one of the places it could have been. I thought I asked it in a chat and someone was being interviewed, which led me to believe it might have been in one of like Dr. Dynastic's interviews with some of the folks from the development team. Because I specifically asked, like, are these predictive or descriptive? And the answer was predictive. But now Clay Dog says Spore said it is not predictive. Okay, so let's figure that out. I'll figure out the best way to ask that. Best place to ask that. But then in round two, I always thought it was descriptive too. That's why I was surprised when I heard that it was uh, predictive. So let's just look at the calendar here. So big sweep, of course. Huge run differentials for the Gym Unknowns team. And then a loss in game two, but otherwise a gentleman's sweep of the second series. I think the noteworthy thing here, this team that Clay Dog beat 4-1. Let's take a look at their lineup, and all of these boosted variants. Level 5. There's one here that's not level 5. Level 4. One bench player who's not a fully boosted variant. One bench player. The pitchers. Uh, two pitchers that were not variants, and at least half of them fully boosted, including most of the starting rotation. Yeah, they went very iron and bronze here with lots of irons, lots of like high 50s instead of going 60s and 40s, lots of high 50s mixed in there. Lots of these high 50s players. But all most of them fully boosted. And so yeah, so Clay Dog beat this almost all variant, mostly fully boosted team 4-1. And then another 5-1. I forgot best of 9. 5-1. Another 5-1 win. And even the loss is just a 2-run loss. So that's round 1, round 2, round 3. Round 4, notice not playing my team, playing some other team in round 4. But anyway, 1-1 to start. Down 2-1. Down 2-1 before winning three in a row to go up 4-2. Then 4-3. And then wins it 5-3. That's important. Gets a day rest. And then look, the Mad Town Socialist playing another Mad team. Mad versus Mad. Loses 1 and then wins 5 in a row. This is a round that we actually would have met in before we got the bad information. And then 3 days of rest because of that great performance there. And then 3-0, loses 2, up 3-2, and then wins the last 2 to put it away 5-3. And then the final goes up 4-0. Up 4-0 on the verge of a sweep. And then loses 3 in a row, 4-3. But puts it away with a 7-0 shutout. A 4-hit shutout, no less. Who threw this 4-hit shutout? Oh, Ray Caldwell. Ray Caldwell. Yeah, so I've got Ray Caldwell on both my bronze teams. Love using him in cap tournaments because it's two players for the price of one. I forgot that this team is a silver team, so I don't have Ray Caldwell on this team. And as I started, as the tournament fired, I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't have Ray Caldwell on here. And I mentioned that to Clay Dog. Ray Caldwell with a 4-hit shut piece. Hey, Sporer. Are the snowflake and the flame, indicating slump and hot streak, are they predictive in meaning do they change performance, or are they purely descriptive and only indicate that they're in a slump or on a hot streak? So does a flame or a snowflake uh, boost or decrease performance? Okay, Spore believes that they're only descriptive and perfect team. So then maybe I have a faulty memory of what happened, or maybe my question was misunderstood. And I don't feel super strong about my position because I can't even remember in what platform I asked the question, and I can't remember which developer answered the question. Oh, which is different from the so my question might have been misunderstood to mean a base game question. So I could very well have asked the wrong thing. Or my question might have been, yeah, misinterpreted. They might have thought I was asking about base game. Is there which developer would know the definitively correct answer for perfect team? Because I don't mind asking in the forum. I'll just now I know to ask more clearly though. I'll ask specifically about perfect team because I may not have done that when I asked the question in chat. So Paul, just a little additional context. I had asked in someone's chat when someone from the development team was on, and I had said, "Are the snowflake and the flame just descriptive of what's happened, or are they predictive in that they change performance?" And in my memory, the answer was that it's predictive, but based on what you're saying, it might have just been because they might have thought I was asking about the base game. But anyway, I'll find a good channel in which to ask the developers. But that answer makes a lot of sense then. It would explain all the differences that we're hearing. If in the base game they are predictive, but in perfect team they are not. That would go a long way to address all the different things we're hearing. So yeah, congratulations, Claydog. We were just taking a look at Claydog's championship run in the pop-up tournament today. All right, let's go to the base game and we'll set up tonight's sim. Yeah, it was fun too because Claydog and I were chatting most of the time because we thought we were going to potentially play each other. And then, of course, I had to give him a hard time when it turns out our potential meeting was in the fifth round, not the fourth round. And then when I lost in the fourth round, I'm like, of course I would have blamed Claydog. It was set up so perfectly. So yeah, that was really fun. Anytime one of our late night community members makes a run like that, we like to acknowledge it. So congrats, Claydog. Very nicely done. Especially getting past that second round, all variant team, mostly fully boosted team. That was pretty impressive. And to beat them 5 games to 1 too, not just like squeaking by them, but pretty much dominating them. So yeah, for anyone who may have come in, I think for the Raiders, I already did this when the raid came in from Answer Denny. But tonight's a Mother's Day stream. We're revisiting my late mom's favorite team, the '86 Mets, and we're gonna clone um, her favorite players, Gary Carter and Ron Darling. And we're gonna put some extra versions of them on that '86 Mets team and see what they can do. Now again, OTP is a very, it's a probabilistic game. And so even if you run the 86 Mets over and over, they're not always going to win the World Series. But I think especially replacing some of those bullpen righties with some Ron Darlings, I think will help. And I mean, having a backup catcher who's Gary Carter and potentially some other position players. So one of the things that we're going to look at now is how many Gary Carters do you want to have in here? Because he does have very interesting position coverage that year. Right, we looked at this earlier. I may have to resize the window actually so that you can see the whole thing. But he played multiple positions that year that are not reflected in his OT profile. And it's because they're past the slash line. Right? The slash line in BREF I think is 10 games or fewer. Right, so that year he played some first base, left field, right field, and third base. And so I think let's at least give a couple of his clones that position flexibility so that the AI can maybe put him in left field for some games ahead of, a 37-year-old George Foster. It may even want to play him ahead of the Ray Knight, Howard Johnson platoon sometimes. So we'll take a look at that in the base. Here. Did that work? Yeah, you guys can see the positions now, right? And a lot of this is Davey Johnson. Davey Johnson, I don't think he gets enough credit for this. He did a lot of creative things with the position coverage, especially in that 86 team. He started doing it a lot more, I felt like, in 85. Where he did stuff like, Roger McDowell, the right-handed relief pitcher, and Jesse Orozco, the left-handed relief pitcher. Using the left-right matchups, he would often bring in McDowell to face a righty, and then send McDowell into right field to keep him in the game, and bring Orozco in. And I don't know. This is before internet, so all I remember is from the games I was watching, and so it may have made a huge impression on me. And he may have only done it once or twice, and I happened to see the one or two times. But I just thought it was so cool that he sent McDowell to right, bring in Orozco, and then Orozco would get two lefties out, and then it's another righty. Well, McDowell's still in the game, and he would just come back onto the mound. And I just thought how awesome that was. And so I think a lot of that, and just NL managing in general back then without the DH, there's lots of double switches. You do have players who would play multiple positions, and a guy like Carter who who had the ability to be flexible, I think was really helpful. And so, I do want to, maybe give a nod to some of that position flexibility. And so we might give him some corner outfield, at least, playability. He does have the first base ability already built in 86. All right, so let's go. I already opened up the game and started setting it up, partly because I wanted to see what Gary Carter's profile looked like defensively. But we're in default mode, which is a 1-year recalc mode. And we are in commissioner mode, so I can use the editor function. And we cannot be fired. Those are the parts of the setup you missed, which I did before the stream. Other than that, I don't think I've set anything else up yet. And so, so the first thing I did was I looked at Gary Carter's position coverage. He's got catcher and first. So we're going to clone him a few times. At least one time. We'll replace Ed Hearn with another Gary Carter. The other thing that's interesting about this team is Kevin Mitchell is on the team, and the AI loves to play Kevin Mitchell more than he played in real life, which is fine. He has a decent profile here, right? Above average contact, above average power, average eye. Clearly not near his career potential yet, which he'll reach with the Giants. Of course, Met's gonna Met, and he he becomes great after after the Mets trade him. Um, but yeah, his stats that year were oh yeah, well we can look at his stats, real life stats. One of the great parts of OTP is you can just very easily access their real life stats. So in '86, 277, 811 OPS, 12 home runs, and that's far superior to George Foster, who played most of the I guess most of the early part of the season in left field. But the AI has the advantage of seeing both parts of that, and the AI says, "Well, I'm just going to play Mitchell the whole season." Of course you would. Like, why wouldn't you? So that's one of the things that changes history a little bit there. The other thing is, instead of platooning Wilson and Dykstra, a lot of times the AI will just start Wilson and Dykstra together. Um, but yeah, that's one of the quirks of having the opening season roster and the ability for the AI to like say, well, I'm not going to follow history. I'm going to make the best decisions available, which is to start Kevin Mitchell over George Foster. And then on the pitching side, so I was a little surprised. Ron Darling's profile not great this season. He's a 3-star pitcher, which is just above average. He has plus stuff, but minus control. And if we use a pitcher rating that kind of breaks out the splits, average home run suppression, slightly plus PBABIT, but in general, a pretty average player. Slightly above average. He'll go on to be very productive. And in '86, he was 15-6 with a 2.81 ERA. This is why I was surprised his ratings were relatively low, because he did have such a good season. That 2.81 ERA, the 1.2 WHIP, and in case you think it's an era thing, his ERA plus was 140, so not just era based. 3.8 WAR. This stat line, I was actually very surprised that stat line came from this profile. So we'll see how these multiple Ron Darlings do. But I assume, for example, Rick Anderson, I think we do want to keep the lefties. Doug Sisk, at least, will get replaced. I actually think we'll probably replace Ed Lynch as well. So actually, we will end up with 2 Ron Darlings in the rotation. Aguilera, I'm torn on because I think I'm judging Aguilera on what he goes on to become. He's a swingman on this team where he, if I remember correctly, I'm basing this all on what I remember as a kid. Well, I wasn't a little kid, but I was not a grown up. Yeah, 28 games, 20 starts. So, kind of that like a 5th starter role, came in relief a bit. But I think a lot of people remember him as a closer for Minnesota. Several 30-plus save seasons. Right, very effective in that role. And so, maybe it's okay to replace the 24-year-old Rick Aguilera with a version of Ron Darling as well. So then it'd be Ed Lynch, Rick Aguilera, Rick Anderson, Doug Sisk would all get replaced by versions of Ron Darling. So let's go do that now. So our clones are going to end up in the free agency pool. So let me just make sure the pool doesn't have a ton of players in it. Okay, good. It's actually completely empty, it looks like. Perfect. You know what? Before we do this, let's just set up the game. We're going to set up per the description. Oh, and I think in the form it probably still says 2024 run environment. It's going to be the 1986 run environment. I think I can change it without ruining everything. So let me change that real quick. It'll be a standard 126 1986 season. 1986 modifiers will be locked and auto calc on. Okay. All right, so I've updated the form. I think if I don't, I think the link still works. You should still get to this form. I used to think I had to repost it, but. And to the one person who already submitted, if this information changes what you thought, feel free to resubmit. I know who you are. You know who you are. If you decide you want to resubmit, feel free to do so. Okay, so coach scouting is off, so we get 100% accurate scouting. Coaching is off. Now, note, enable owner goals is off, but the owner is still going to bother us with new goals, even though that's turned off. Okay. Injuries off, suspensions off. This is so that we can just get through the season with just our 25-man roster. It is a 25-man roster, I believe, in 86. All player development is going to be turned off. These are the same settings we use for Create a Roster and most of our historic games in stream. And then league settings opens up another set of submenus, so we're going to go through all those. That's okay. We're going to turn trading off. Note the default here is that automatic creation of free agents is already turned off, so we don't have to do that. Options, there are a few things here. One is my preference is that pitchers don't win the MVP, so we're going to uncheck that. That's in the form. Now, this doesn't affect anything except the all-star selections, but first of all, I don't want to have to vote for them. So we're going to turn off manual voting. But the most important thing is I'm going to turn off importance of popularity in the all-star vote. The high is the default. I'm going to make that none. So theoretically, the all-star voting will be based on performance only and not popularity. The reason I do that is because created and imported players start with 0 popularity. Even if you import Babe Ruth, arguably the most famous baseball player ever, he will start with 0 popularity. And I want the all-stars to be chosen based on how well they play, so we turn that to none. Okay, historical. We do not want players retiring or missing seasons according to history. And we do not want to automatically import historical rookies, so we're going to uncheck those. And then for the modifiers, we're going to go ahead and lock these in. These modifiers are going to make it feel like 1986. And we're going to turn off AutoCalc. All right, so we're just locking in the 1986 modifiers. Now we're only cloning a few players, and none of them are like world beater profiles, so it really shouldn't matter on or off. They should play pretty much the same. It's really more of an issue when we bring in like a bunch of Babe Ruths or a bunch of Barry Bondses and things like that, which we sometimes do, but not tonight. Okay, and then some mailbox setting stuff just to make sure we get the information we want. Oh, Paul, if you're still in the chat, the Mother's Day sim I want to do next year is the affiliate streamers and my late night community members, our mother's favorite players. And I know your mom played fantasy baseball with you guys. So if she's that into baseball, I assume she has a favorite player. So for this time next year, if you let me know her favorite player, and we can get enough of those mom's favorite players, we can build a roster to sim. And if you're not in the chat, I will ping you on Discord and ask about it. Okay, so I think the next thing to do, everything. Oh wait, the last thing is manager options. This is how we prevent from being interrupted too much. We're going to uncheck all of these. There is a handy do not disturb box here you can just check, but if you read the fine print, that gives the AI some powers that we don't want it to have. So I do a de facto do not disturb by checking these here. All right, so now we can start cloning our players. Let's do the Ron Darlings first because we don't have to worry about position flexibility or anything with him. All right, so we're gonna get rid of Lynch, Aguilera, Anderson, and Sis. So we need 4 Ron Darling clones. There's one clone. So let's just go to the free agent screen. Again, it's under your manager name, GM and manager actions, sign a free agent. Okay, now we can clone him. Okay, now I can check both of them, and I can clone them. And now we have 4. And that's all we need. And just so we can keep them straight, I'll go rename the one on the regular roster Ron Darling 1. This will be Ron Darling 2. This will be Ron Darling 3. This will be Ron Darling 4. And this will be Ron Darling 5. Okay. And I guess I should have done this with all of them too. Let's just add them to the Mets. This is the easiest way to add people to a team if you can get to editor mode, is just go ahead and make them a member of your team. You don't have to worry about signing them or however much delay that takes. You just assign them to your team, basically. All right, so they're instantly added to your team. Okay, so all 4 of them are now on the team. And this, again, this is a really nice quality of life thing. But the game now lets you temporarily go over your roster limit, I think, until the end of the day. So it gives you time to make adjustments and stuff. You don't always have to be under the limit. It's really nice. So this is the original. That's Rick Anderson. I did not mean to click Rick Anderson. I meant to click Ron Darling. This is the original, so we're going to name him 1. With apologies to EVC and NYC 2. We're going to name the original one 1, and then the second one 2. All right. Now with that, so there are Ron Darlings. All right, we're going to get rid of Ed Lynch. Aguilera. Anderson. Now, is there a chance our pitching staff will be worse off with Ron Darling replacing all these players? Maybe. But I don't think so. I think his profile is better than the ones we're replacing. Now, what I'm curious to see is what the AI does here. I'm assuming it'll put the other Ron Darling in the 5 spot here. We'll replace Ed Lynch. And then, but what I don't know is what it'll do in the bullpen. So let's just see. Oh, Orozco gets bumped back to middle relief. That's interesting. All right, I'm making an executive decision here. I'm sending one of these guys, one of these Rondons to middle relief. I'm bringing up Orozco to setup with backup closer. And then we do have one of the Ron Darlings in also in a setup backup closer role. Okay, but we do have Ron Darlings in the. You know what? I know it doesn't matter; they're all clones, but I want the original Ron Darling in the rotation in his original spot. All right. Also noteworthy, and again, stars. The AI has a certain methodology for calculating stars. The 86 Gooden 4 stars. The 86 Sid Fernandez 4.5 stars. All right, now let's deal with the Gary Carters. Now, right off the bat, we know we need a Gary Carter to replace Ed Hearn. We want that for sure. And let's rename this Gary Carter 1 right away. Okay, and then we'll go to the roster. I wanted. Oh yeah, I guess this is if you wanted. Okay. So let's just go ahead and clone him a few times. We can always delete the clones. That's easy enough to do. I don't think we'll need more than 4. In fact, I don't know that we'll use all 4. Oops, I did not mean to do that. I meant to clone players. Okay. All right, so 1 is the original and it's already on the roster. This will be 2. This will be 3. And again, we might not use all of these. This will be 4. And this will be 5. Okay. And let's... In fact, I'm not even going to add all of them to the Mets yet. I am going to add this one because we know we're going to replace Ed Hearn. That's the only one we know for sure so far. And let's go ahead and just cut Ed Hearn right now. Okay, now we know he had some left field, left and right field appearances in 86. But who would we cut? I mean, we could cut George Foster, actually. But I'm kind of curious to see if the AI would start him ahead of Foster. I don't want to cut Danny Heap because he's one of our left-handed bats off the bench. I mean, which would you rather have in playing left field? George Foster, who actually does still have 70 power, just doesn't bring much else to the table. Or one of these Gary Carters. Oh, Carter has 70 power too. And he has plus 10 contact. And he has plus 10 eye. And that plus 10 contact comes from plus 5 BABIP, plus 15 avoid K. And Foster, I mean, he's still a 50 in left field, which is actually pretty good in OOTP26. But yeah, I think he's the one that makes sense to replace. All right, so let's go back to the free agents pool. I'm going to give Carter like 45-ish left field. And also, what were Foster's? Okay, he had 45 range, 50 error, 50 arm. I don't mind giving Carter 45s across the board. He already has first base, as you can see there. All the Gary Carters have first base. So in editor, we're going to go to bat. The fielding stuff isn't under batting ratings. Wow, look at this. 162 blocking, 171 framing. I'm a little surprised the arm is so weak, but I think I'm probably thinking about his reputation built previous to this. All right, what happens if we just go straight 100s for outfield? Oops, did not mean to do that. Okay, that's probably a little too strong for left field, because if we give him 200, he's probably going to be above average. Yeah, he's a 55 in left field, 45 in right field. So what happens if we take him down to 80s? $45 left field, 35 right field. I think that's fine. So let's add this version now to the Mets. This is the version now that can play corner outfield. Now, the AI will probably still start Kevin Mitchell in left. Oh, yeah, he still has catcher and first base, too. I forgot. And then 45 in left. And then let's take Foster off the team. Now I'm kind of curious, what would the AI do with this? Oh, shoot. It's starting. Wait, it's not starting the Carter in left, but it's starting two Carters. Why is it starting two Carters? Oh, Carter 2 would be the DH against the AL. But it's not starting Carter 3 in the outfield. He's not even the backup. He's the second backup. Even versus lefties, it's starting. It's gonna go with Danny Heap as the backup. Probably because Heap is the better defender. The AI is still pretty heavy on defense in the base game. It is funny too. Carter 2 is the number one pinch hitter. Carter 3 not even on the top pinch hitting list. It's the same player. Wait, why is Carter 3 so much worse for contact and... That's really weird. I didn't change his batting. Oh, somehow this became a 1. Okay, that's supposed to be a 333. Apparently, I must have made a typo somehow. Okay, now let's see what it decides to do. Okay, that might change things. Yeah, I had inadvertently nerfed him with a typo. Okay, it's still batting Gary Carter 6th. I believe he was hitting cleanup most of that season. Because I think they went lefty, righty, lefty. Hernandez, Carter, Strawberry. But now let's see if Carter 3 is in the depth chart a little bit more. Yeah, Carter 3 is now second behind Strawberry for right field versus righties. Still behind Heap versus lefties. All right, I am going to make a few changes here to what the AI is doing. Partly for like history, because I'm pretty sure it was Hernandez, Carter, Strawberry. So we'll stick to that. And then to get this Carter 3 into the game more, he's definitely going to be our second left fielder at least behind Mookie Wilson. I don't mind Heap being the backup ahead of him versus righties because Heap is a lefty. Okay, at least the Carters are the second and third pinch hitters versus righties. And then versus lefties are the top two pinch hitters, which makes sense. Also, to keep Carter 2 fresh, we're going to put Carter 3 as the top pinch hitter on both sides of the two Carters, because Carter 2, I don't want Carter 2 to have to back up a catcher and then suddenly like they're not fully rested. Okay, so I think we're good there. We're good with the pitching staff. We've got our Ron Darlings in place in the right roles, I think. And we'll put one of them, we'll give one of them, we'll give 5 long relief duty. Okay, I think this is pretty good. All right. Strategy wise, I don't think there's a Davey Johnson strategy in port. I don't know if you know this, but there are a bunch of manager specific strategies in here, but there's no Davey Johnson last time we checked. Yeah. It would be nice to have a Davey Johnson in here. Like I said, he did a lot of creative things that not that the fictional Davey Johnson would do all those creative things, but I think he was creative enough and successful enough that he should have an entry in here. So I think we'll probably just go. I'm trying to think if he was more traditional or tactician. I feel he was more tactician-ish. We'll go tactician, I think. And then we'll go defensive subs starting the 8th inning if we're leading by three or more. So not that often. Okay. I think this is what we're going to go with. Let me go ahead and delete those Gary Carters before anyone else signs them. That's the other thing. If you if you leave these free agents out here that you cloned, someone will claim them because, I mean, a 50 contact, 70 power catcher with 65 defense. Yeah, someone's going to claim that guy, of course. Or sign that free agent. So we're going to go ahead and delete these clones. But yeah, the AI likes Mookie Wilson actually as a starting left fielder, along with Kevin Mitchell. Oh no, wait, I forgot. The AI keeps doing this, and I don't like it. The AI keeps starting Kevin Mitchell at shortstop ahead of Rafael Santana, which, from a simming perspective, I mean, from a strategic perspective, makes total sense. But again, I'm going to try to keep the semi uh, true to 86. And we're going to put Santana at short and bat him last. And I actually am going to restore the platoon here. We're going to go Dykstra versus righties. We're going to go Mookie Wilson versus lefties in center. And then this is where Foster / Mitchell used to play. And this is where we'll put Gary Carter 3. The VL left fielder. And again, same thing against DH. Oh, and also Howard Johnson used to play third versus righties instead of Ray Knight. And here's the thing. I think this is a temporal switch where Foster would have been playing for the first half of the season, then Mitchell would have been playing the second half of the season, I think. Wilson and Dykstra usually did not play together. So this is where I think we'll also put Carter 3 in left field instead of... Now, what is hard to be recreated is Kevin Mitchell then coming in. But, you know, this is a Mother's Day stream. I want Gary Carter in there because my mom would have wanted to see Gary Carter in there. So we're going to put Gary Carter in there, VL and VR. And you know what? For the purpose of the postseason, we're going to do that here too. So just, I'm being optimistic. We are going to make the postseason. So I'm going to Gary Carter 3 in there. Gary Carter 3 there. And then we'll put Mookie Wilson there in center field. Gary Carter 3 is in left field. That means for DH, this is where I think we'll make Kevin Mitchell the DH versus lefties. And we'll keep Santana at shortstop. Oh, wait, I grabbed Danny Heap by mistake. Here's Santana. And again, we're going to return Carter to the cleanup spot where he normally would hit. I'll let Mitchell hit 6, and we'll have... Well, I don't know. If we had another Gary Carter... If Carter 1's hitting cleanup, he'd probably end up hitting 6 too. So we'll put there. And then... I remember Danny Heap DHing versus righties in the postseason that year. So we'll put Danny Heap as our DH. And again, Santana is our shortstop. Gary Carter 1 is our cleanup hitter. Santana definitely hitting last. Oh, and Howard Johnson playing versus a righty. Oh yeah, and Tuffle playing second base versus the lefties. Forgot about that. which is odd too because Backman was not that splitty, I don't think, that year. But okay, this is about as true, I think, as I can get to those lineups, the 86 lineups with the extra Gary Carters, and trying to take into account the fact that we're going to have Mitchell playing on the team all season. So let's ask for the depth charts. And what I'll do is I'm going to work Mitchell into the depth charts in. Oh, he's already there. We're not going to let him play every second game at short. That's just not something that was happening. But he will spell Santana when Santana's tired. He will back up. This is where let's let Mitchell back up Carter in left. Actually, what's Mitchell's rating in left? Yeah, it's a 55. That's fine. You know, versus righty, I don't mind Mookie Wilson getting some starts versus righties in left, but not every third game. Let's make this like maybe not every second game, maybe every fourth game. And then Mitchell's backing up Strawberry. That's fine. And then versus lefties, since Wilson's starting, we'll let Mitchell back up Carter in left. And then same for the DH games. Versus righties, it'll be Wilson every fourth game. And I think let's let. How's Mitchell versus righties versus Ray Knight versus righties? Mitchell, of course, has way more power. Oh, actually, just 10 more power versus righties. Knight has. Okay, so that's why it's going with Knight ahead of Mitchell there. Um, every second, every third game maybe. Okay, and then VL. Mitchell's at DH. Knight starting at third. Yeah, I think this is okay. All right, so that's. I think we've got our settings now. Let's save this. So you can submit your pack giveaway forms now. Now that you kind of see what we've got to deal with. Let's see. Oh, ads are rolling right now. Shoot. Okay. Let me put up the BRB. And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back, and I just noticed that the pack away form has come unpinned. So let me repin it. And this will actually be the new link. But it should still lead to the same form. And I will give you more time to fill it out since I did not realize it would come unpinned. So if you need more time, let me know. I usually check the thing to say leave it up until manually unpinned or end of stream. So I'm not sure how that happened, but feel free to enter. 7 packs for first place, 3 packs for second place. You now see what the Gary Carters and... Oh, wait, I think we need to make another cut still, do we? I think we might be... Oh, no, we made the cuts. Oh, yeah, that's right, we cut George Foster. And all the pitching staff cuts we already made as well. So 5 Ron Darlings, including the original, and 3 Gary Carters, including the original. So 4 Ron Darling clones and 2 Gary Carter clones, with the original still in place. And the originals are retaining their original positions. So Gary Carter 1 is the starting catcher, and Ron Darling 1 is the starting pitcher in the number 4 spot in the rotation. And again, we're going with multiple Carters and Ron Darlings because they were my mom's favorite players on the 86 Mets. And we're playing in the 86 season. 86 run environment, modifiers turned off. All right, we're in the NL East. Cubs, Expos, Phillies, Pirates, Cardinals. There's no Central yet. And in a divisional setup that always confused me as a kid, the Atlanta Braves in the West. And the St. Louis Cardinals in the East. To this day, I sometimes get thrown off that the Braves were in the East. I'm like, what? No, that's an NL West team. I mean, also, too, the Astros were, for such a long time, an NL team. And the Brewers an AL team. That switch also sometimes throws me off, even today. All right, so go ahead and get your forms in, and then I will close the forms. We can check out the guesses, and then we'll start the sim. I can tell you now, if you get a form in, you're going to have pretty good odds of winning tonight. Usually our slow night is Saturday. Sunday, usually not so slow. Is everyone AFK tonight? I thought for sure we'd have Clay Dog in here. I wasn't sure about Wingood. I don't know if Wingood's ever been in our pack giveaways. I know some people don't play. There are some people who don't play Perfect Team who are sometimes in our chat. Um, all right, if anyone's about to hit submit, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to close the forum pretty soon, just so we can get the sim started. I do want to raid into Midnight Sumo before the live sumo ends. It is the first night of a uh, one of, I think there are 4 or 5. Uh, yeah, Skyroll is a long form, but the tiebreak is pretty fun, so hopefully it will be worth it. Um, there are, I think, 4 or 5 of these national sumo tournaments each year, and each one is 2 weeks long, and the new one just started yesterday, and so I'm looking forward to when they are on, and Smiley Face Jane is not streaming after us. I like this raid into Midnight Sumo. So I guess when I see Skyrolla's entry come in, I will close the form unless anyone else lets me know in chat that they are submitting a form. And so for those of you who might be new to the stream or have not raided into Midnight Sumo with us before, Midnight Sumo is a Canadian streamer who does commentary on live sumo tournaments in English, so you can understand what's going on. It even helps me understand. Like, I understand Japanese pretty well, and his English commentary still helps me a lot. It's just a good time. It's only 2 weeks every few months, so when he's streaming the tournaments live, I like to raid into those. Partly because I'm going to be watching them anyway after I stream. um, but also, as a Japanese streamer, I feel like sharing some Japanese culture with everybody. Not at the expense of OOTP, though. We do raid into Smiley Face Jane instead of Smiley Face Jane instead we're streaming, even during a sumo tournament. Alright, Skyrolla is in, so unless someone else tells me to stop, I'm going to close the form. Skyrolla just pounded out some random answers. You might still win. You got good odds tonight. I think last night we had 10 entries. Tonight we're going to have 3. 3 entries. Alright, I'm closing the form. Very good odds. All right, we'll check out the Survivor style questions for now. You're working on your Perfect League team for next week? Well, Perfect League team, very important. Good luck in Perfect League, by the way. Okay, so I believe correctly, no one thinks this team is going to be last in the majors or last in the NL or last in its division. 1/3, one of you thinks it will have a sub 500 winning percentage. One thinks it will make the playoffs and win its division and make it to the World Series. No one thinks this team's going to win the World Series. And I don't think that's crazy. I've taken this 86 Mets team to different years before. Like when I first started streaming, those were the first 10 streams I did. 86 Mets to 62. They replaced the 62 Mets. They replaced the 63 Mets. And I did every season like that, just bringing in the 96 Mets or the 86 Mets. And I've always felt this way. I mean, The Mets are my team. 86 Mets, hugely formative in my baseball fandom. But I've always felt like they are not an all-time great team. They have probably an all-time great rotation in terms of strength and depth. But their lineup, they didn't have a 30 home run hitter. Um, they had Rafael Santana, who at I think 218 is their starting shortstop. Right, this is not an all-time great offensive team. Even defensively, Howard Johnson and Ray Knight at third base, not great fielders. Santana, passable. Backman and Tuffle, not great. Backman better than Tuffle, certainly. Now, you did have great gloves at first and catcher with Carter and Hernandez. But I think the only thing really like all time about this team is the starting rotation, maybe. Will a player on this team win the Cy Young Award? The yes. I'm assuming that yes is going to be for Gooden, who probably has the best shot at it. No one with an MVP. So that'll be interesting. All right, so let's see how this pans out. Now that the forum is closed, we can advance to my favorite part. I'm going to save this as a quick start too, in case we ever want to run this back for whatever reason. What did I call this? Usually I note the name of the save, and I didn't do that this time. Hold on, let me see if I can find it in the folder. Because I would like to name the quick start something similar to the... it should start with SIM for Sim. Sim Mother's Day VO1. Simple enough. So we'll save this as a quick start as well. I didn't do the apostrophe because I didn't want it to throw things off. Oh, wait, no. Oh, I almost loaded a quick start. That would have been very bad. I want to save this as a quick start. There we go. Uh, 1986 Mets. I need to add Mets in. Ron Darling clones. Okay, so the quick start is saved. Quick start basically just an easier to access backup for those of you who are familiar with the backup process from previous versions of OOTP. I think it was the same thing, except I find it much easier to access, but it's probably more of a storage hog. So that's probably one of the downsides. Okay, so now that the saving is done, we can advance to opening day. And with opening day come the preseason predictions. This is my favorite part. I like seeing what the AI thinks is going to happen. So MLB reports and info, preseason predictions. Okay. 107 and 55 is the prediction. So this is actually worse than the real 86 Mets. So adding some Gary Carters and Ron Darlings, the AI thinks it's going to be worse. So the real Mets went 108 and 54. The AI thinks this team is going to finish one game behind the original 86 Mets. Amazing. Also, look at the home run totals. Granted, this is a non DHNL, but modern era, most teams have 200, 250 home runs. We're in the 130s, 160s. 160 is the highest with the Phillies. The Cardinals project to have 66 home runs for the whole season. Hey, D-Block. We're about to start this Mother's Day sim. All right, so yeah, we are not predicted to have a a much better season with all these changes. Sorry, Mom. The AI apparently does not like Gary Carter and Ron Darling as much as you did. All right, let's check out the top players as well. Yeah, none of the Carters made the top hitters, and none of the Darlings made the top pitchers. So cloning them does not help us get in there. Now, one thing that could be interesting is let's go look at the MLB has these position reports. Position strength by positions. Oh, it still has Ed Hearn as our top. Oh, because that's prospect, not backup. Okay. All right. So, yeah, it still has us ranked third. Okay. Yeah, it didn't change that either. All right. Well, let's see what happens. The AI thinks we're not going to win more games than the real Mets did, so we'll see. Let's watch the first game. Oh, opening day, we don't have a game. So let's finish today. Okay, now we have our first game against the Pirates. I kind of wonder if we should wait till our first game versus a lefty. Oh, no. Gary Carter, number 3, is starting versus righties, too. So let's go ahead and watch this game. All right, top of the first. Lane Dexter leading off, 2-1 count. Fly ball. Oh, is this a leadoff home run? It sure is. Gone. Len Dykstra with a leadoff bomb. All right, that's it for the first. As we head to the bottom of the first, the Skinny Barry Bonds leading things off against Doc Gooden. Fly ball to right, and we exchange leadoff home runs. Bomb the second, 2 men on, no outs, and a 2-2 count to Rafael Belliard. Ground ball the second. Oh my goodness! Santana drops the double play ball, and a run scores, and we still have no outs. Well, that was the extent of the damage, though, as we head to the top of the fourth. Strawberry on second, and Gary Carter 3 replacing George Foster in the lineup. Up at bat. 2-0 count. Fly ball to left. Oh, gets over the left fielder's head. That'll be extra bases. Nice. Way to go, Gary Carter 3. All right, bottom of the fourth, runner on third. Gooden facing his pitching counterpart, Rick Rhoden. Base hit up the middle. That'll be an RBI. Pitcher on pitcher crime. Bottom of the fifth. Pittsburgh still up by 1. Gooden in trouble again. 2 men on, no outs to Mike Diaz. Mets have made 2 errors already, too, and one was very costly. That's a deep drive into center field off the wall. Another run scores. 2 run score. That bases are loaded now for Joe Orsulak. Oof. No outs still. Infield is in. This is not good news. Ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit. A 5-run fifth and still only 1 out. Ron Darling, number 5 in the game, facing Johnny Ray. Dangerous contact hitter. And there you go. Into the gap. Yeah, we're getting crushed. Yikes. Still 7 runs scored. Still just 1 out. Jim Morrison over the center fielder's head off the wall. All right, finally, 9 runs scored that inning. Gooden got chased. And we are mercifully at the end of the game. 2 outs in the 9th. Pop up to short, and the game is over. Yikes. That was ugly. I mean, I know that 1 error was super costly, but those 9 innings, those 9 runs. Yeah, 11 runs, 10 earned, 20.77 ERA for Dwight Gooden to start the season. Oof, that was brutal. Original Gary Carter went 2 for 4. Gary Carter 3, playing left field, went 1 for 4 with 2 RBI. All right, let's go to the standings mode. Actually, let's watch. When is Ron Darling starting? In 2 more games. Let's watch a Ron Darling start, too. Oh, the Mets are off again. Oh, let's do our rotation mode, too. Oh, okay, it is always start highest rested. So this is a Sid Fernandez game. Mets win 2-1. Sid Fernandez goes 8 innings, 1 earned. McDowell comes in for the save. Very nice. That seems like a much more traditional 86 Mets box score. Okay, then we got Ojeda versus Raleigh. Mets lose again 7-5. Gary Carter 1 gets a home run. All right, Ron Darling 1. Here we go. Ron Darling's first start of the season. My mom's favorite pitcher. Let's see how he does. All right, top of the first. 1 out, 2-1 count. Oh, it's against a lefty. Nice. Bruce Ruffin. Keith Hernandez. Tuffle on first. Fly ball to deep left field. Hernandez going yard versus a lefty. Nice. Carter's on the corners. Strawberry on second for Ray Knight. Gary Carter 1, our catcher, on third. Strawberry at second. Gary Carter 3, playing left field on first. Ray Knight up with 1 out and a 1-1 count. Hit hard in the right field. Should be deep enough to score the sac fly. And with 2 outs, Rafael Santana, our light hitting shortstop. Ground ball to first. Gets past the first baseman. Attaway, 218 hitting shortstop. Mookie Wilson now up. That's going to fall in. All right, takes us to the bottom of the 8th, up 10-4. Ron Darling 1, still in the game, facing Ron Renicky. And that's going to hurt. That's an extra base hit into the corner. All right. Orozco's brought in for some reason facing the righty. Gets past the second baseman. Who would have thought in 1986 a 10-4 lead would not be safe? All right, bottom of the ninth. It's a 3-run game. Jeff Stone on first for Gary Redus. Orozco is still in the game. AI, bring in the righty. Bring in McDowell. Come on. Now he brings in the righty with Von Hayes on deck. I would have preferred this much earlier. And that's a ground ball up the middle. That's a base hit. This formerly 6-run lead is getting pretty thin. Bases loaded for Von Hayes, and we don't have Orozco in the game now. Orozco came in to face the righties. McDowell comes in to face the lefty. Back to first. Oh, it was a line drive. So he's trying to turn 2 there at second. Okay, Mike Schmidt. At least we got the righty versus Mike Schmidt. Very dangerous batter. He is the go-ahead run. McDowell's a sinker baller, though. Should help keep the ball in the yard. Ground ball to third. Down to home for the out. Can't turn 2, though. So it's 2 outs and a full count to Ron Renicky. Full count. And pops him up. Thank goodness. That was much more exciting than it needed to be. All right. There you go, Mom. His ERA is 8.59, but Ron Darling got the win. Yeah, because he was still in there, I think, for some of those runs in the 8th, too. So that really crushed his ERA. Let's see. Yeah, 7 earned. He gave up all 7 runs. Got the W, though. That's funny. All right. Let's see how Gary Carter did, too. 2 for 4. Run scored and a walk. Nice. Carter 3 not doing well, though, hitting 154. Carter 1, the original Carter playing catcher, 2 for 4, hitting 375. All right, let's go to standings mode now, and we'll just kind of see how they do. We're 2 for 2 and 2 on the season. Not very good. Definitely not a 108 or even 107 win type of record. There we go. Now we're still bouncing up and down the standings. (11-8), 2.5 games behind the Pirates after the first full month of the season. Let's go ahead and sim the month of May. You can tell it's a tight division when your team bounces up and down so much, but we're finally putting some distance between second and third place teams. 2.5 games ahead of the Expos. All right, at the end of May, we had a 13-game shutdown streak by McDowell, and Keith Hernandez did win Player of the Week. 3 games had the Expos, 4 games had the Pirates. But again, the leaderboard, no one on the leaderboard except on the pitching side. We've got Bobby Ojeda, 3rd in ERA, and Dwight Gooden tied for 2nd in wins. I did say 86 Mets, not elite, except maybe the pitching, the starting rotation. Not even the pitching staff, just the rotation. All right, the next month. Here's the month of June, and then we'll peek in and see how Gary Carter's doing, and how the various Ron Darlings are doing. The standings seem so clean without any wild card. There's just no wild card. 23 scoreless innings by Ojeda, 6 consecutive hits by Ray Knight, and Dwight Gooden was Pitcher of the Month. So let's go peek at that Pitcher of the Month award. He went 5-0 in June in 6 starts. He threw 48 and 2/3 innings, 39 strikeouts, and a 2.59 ERA. Considering how awful his first start was, he's really brought things together here with 12-3 record and 3.56 season ERA. All right, let's go see how Mom's favorite players are doing. Oops, I did not mean that. Let's go back. What order were they in? Position order? I guess so. Okay. I meant to change this. Pitching stats. Okay. So Ron Darling won the original Ron Darling 4-4 with a 3.75. Look at this. The two Ron Darlings have an identical ERA, 3.75. And in the bullpen, Ron Darling 3, a 0 ERA, although only 5 innings pitched. Ron Darling 4, 17 innings pitched, a 4.67 ERA. And Ron Darling 5, 7.45 ERA. Yikes. Very small sample sizes, though, so they can turn those around. All right, let's see how our Gary Carters are doing. All right. Let's see. Gary Carter 3, the left fielder. 13 home runs, 240 average, 857 OPS. Gary Carter 1, the catcher. 11 home runs, 264 average, 768 OPS. And our backup catcher, Gary Carter 2, 4 home runs, 284 average, 847 OPS. Ray Knight are leading a team in almost everything, hitting 374 with a 1039 OPS. All right. Len Dykstra, 22 steals, but 12 caught stealing. Not very efficient. Neither is Mookie Wilson. 14 stolen bases, 13 caught stealing. Yikes. Stop running. Stop giving away outs. All right, let's go back to the standings view. Let's finish the month of... oh, no, we're in July, so let's go to the All-Star break. All right. 13-game quality start streak by Sid Fernandez. Let's sim one more day to get to the All-Star break. And let's see who was voted and chosen for the All-Star game. Gary Carter won, leading the votes at catcher. Actually, only about 80,000 votes behind the total top vote getter, Hubie Brooks, with 1.8 million votes at shortstop. Wally Backman, second in votes at second base. Keith Hernandez, second in votes at first base. Howard Johnson leading in votes at third base. Wow, lots of these original Mets doing very well. Mookie Wilson, third in votes at left field. And Darryl Strawberry, third in votes in right field. Dwight Gooden leading the starting pitching votes. And that's it for the votes. Now let's see about who got chosen for the team. Gooden led in votes was he's on the team. Ojeda was chosen for the team. Gary Carter 1, our catcher, voted in. Wally Backman chosen. Howard Johnson voted in at third base. And that's it. Now, did any of our Ron Darlings get snubbed? Nope. 5-4, 9-4. 9-4 is not bad, but not great. And in the bullpen, yeah, none of the Ron Darlings are really setting the world on fire here. And then how about on the batting side? How are Gary Carter's doing? Left field Gary Carter doing so-so. Catcher Gary Carter, okay on the power, okay on the average, 806 OPS. But we didn't get a Carter chosen for the team, did we? Oh no, he was voted in. He was a leading vote getter. Wow. 273 and 15 bombs. I guess in that era, that's pretty good. All right. Let's check out the home run challenge. We do not have anyone in this. Rob Deere beat Glenn Davis. Doug DeCinces advances. Frank White and Cal Ripken Jr. face off in the other half of the bracket. Doug DeCinces and Cal Ripken Jr. headed to the final. And Cal Ripken Jr. wins it. Nicely done. 13-12. All right, we'll go one more day to the All-Star game. NL wins 6-1. Let's see if Gary Carter, number 3 performance today, 1 for 2. Oh, I was gonna say 2 doubles. 1 for 2, a double. The 2 in 2B is for double. All right, let's see how this went here. Will Clark, player of the game, it looks like. Howard Johnson hit a run scoring double versus Guillermo Willie Hernandez. Let's see. Here's Wally Backman 0 for 1. Off the bench, Garrett Carter 1. Went 1 for 2 with a run scored and an RBI. Howard Johnson 1 for 3 with a run scored and an RBI. And a strikeout. Looks like several pitchers got in the game as well. Let's see. Ojeda, 1 inning, 1 earned, 2 hits, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Very busy inning. And I think that's it for our team. All right, let's go back to the standings view and let's check out the rest of the season. D-Block, was it Mother's Day in Germany too? On Sunday? I know you're in Monday now, but... Because I think the UK, one of my friends is from England, lives in Ireland, and she taught me a while ago that they have a different Mother's Day over there. Yeah, Andy, I was just saying, one of my friends from England and Ireland said that yours is different. So I wonder when Germany's is. 9-game quality start streak by Gooden has ended. All right, 68-33. We would have the best record in the majors right now. We're 4 wins ahead of the Tigers. And again, no offensive leaderboard names. But on the pitching staff, Gooden and Ojeda tied for second in wins. Sid Fernandez second in strikeouts. Roger McDowell second in saves. Let's go to the next month, the end of August. Oh, I forgot to turn off roster expansion. Let's go ahead and change that right now. I don't want rosters to expand. Shoot, it might be too late. Rosters may have expanded. Because we're now September 1st. Yeah, rosters did expand. Okay, we're not going to bring on anyone new, though. We're going to keep our 25 players. Regardless of what the other teams do. That's my mistake. When we set these up from scratch, that's the one thing I forgot to set up is the roster expansion. I don't think you can turn it off, but you can make it expand from 25 to 25, which is a de facto turning off roster expansion. But I forgot to do that. But we'll make sure we don't add any of these players back on. The other teams are probably going to, but at this point, I don't think I can stop that. So, all right. I realized that as soon as I hit sim to the next month, which took us to roster expansion date, it's when I saw roster expansion date when I thought, oh, you know what? I don't think I turned that off. All right, we are barely ahead of the Tigers, who are untouched and in original condition. They are 80-51. We are 82-48. but 6.5 games ahead of the Expos, so pretty good position for a playoff berth. Rick Rhoden stubbornly ahead of Gooden and Ojeda and wins. Crazy Mike Scott with that split finger fastball. Way ahead in strikeouts. Sid Fernandez second, Nolan Ryan third, and McDowell second in the league in saves. All right, well, let's sim to the end of the regular season. Oh, actually, let's see how Mom's favorite players are doing. How are Gary Carter's? Gary Carter won the catcher, 21 home runs, 266 average, coming off of an all-star berth. Left fielder Gary Carter, 19 home runs, 259 average, 844 OPS. On the pitching side, our starter Ron Darlings are 9-8 and 11-7, both right around 3.8 ERA. And the other Darlings in the bullpen have brought their ERAs down. That's good. We no longer have an 8 ERA for Ron Darling 5. But they're still hovering around a 4 ERA. And Ron Darling 3 just not getting a lot of action in that middle relief role. All right, let's go back to standings. And let's go ahead and take it to the end of the regular season. Oh, yeah, I forgot back then it ends in October because there's a lot shorter playoff run. So let's go to the end of September. You failed to appreciate how much power was on this team. But we didn't, the real 86 Mets didn't have a single 30 home run hitter. But we added a couple of 25 home run hitters with the Gary Carters. So that might net out to be a 9-game winning streak towards the end there that got us to 104. And we still have a week in October left to sim. We're at 107 with 1 game left. Can we match the original Mets total? The preseason prediction was 107, which is where we are right now. Let's watch this. I want to watch this. I'm going to turn off achievements because that can act as a spoiler for sure. And we learned to do this from Smiley Face Jane. Smiley Face Jane was the one who taught us turn off this notify me of achievements because otherwise when you make the playoffs, it'll show up as an achievement and you'll know, a lot of times it'll give away what just happened. Especially during the playoffs when you make it to the next round. So let's go to scores. Let's watch this game. This is to tie the original 86 Mets total of 108 wins. And it's against the Pirates again. We started against the Pirates. We're ending against the Pirates. We faced Rick Rhoden in this opener, and we're facing Rick Rhoden again. And we're in bad shape again with 2 runners on. At least this time we have 2 outs. Ojeda facing Rafael Belliard. Top of the second, 2 outs, 1-1 count. Runners on first and third. Line drive in the left. That's a base hit. That will open up the scoring. Three-one count to Johnny Ray. Dangerous dangerous switch hitting contact hitter, but does worse versus lefties, so that's in our favor. Draws the walk though. That's dangerous enough. Jim Morrison up to bat. Fly ball to center, and that should be the end of that inning. All right, Dykstra now, bottom of the 6th. AI takes us all the way to the bottom of the 6th. We are being one hit by Rick Russell. And yes, I jinxed our way out of that by mentioning that. As Len Dykstra gets a 1-out single. Brings up Wally Backman. Draws the walk. First and second for Keith Hernandez. 1 out, 1-2 count. All right, good night, Skyrola. Thanks for being here. Thanks for playing the pack giveaway game. Good luck in Perfect League. That's a base hit, and it ties the game. Original Gary Carter won, the catcher up to bat. 1 out, 1-1 count. Ground ball to third. Diving stop over to first for the error. And that brings up Darryl Strawberry with 1 out and a 2-2 count. Infield is in. Oh, it goes down swinging. Howard Johnson now up with 2 outs and an 0-2 count. I fear another strikeout. Even though Russell is far from a power pitcher. And he gets him looking that time. What a ridiculous end to that inning. 2 strikeouts with the bases loaded. What the heck, Mets? Mets are gonna Met. I'm telling you. Even the 86 Mets are gonna Met. It's unbelievable they actually managed to win a World Series. All right, runner first for Rafael Santana. And the light-hitting shortstop grounds to third for the double play. Of course he does. Top of the 8th. Ojeda still in the game, facing Barry Bonds. No outs and a full count. And Skinny Bonds goes yard. And they're up 2-1. Bottom of the 8th, down by 1. Len Dykstra leading things off with a 3-1 count. Draws the walk. Getting us started. Backman. Ground ball to second, slow roller. Goes to short. Gets the fielder's choice, but can't turn 2. Brings up Hernandez with a runner on. Little blooper in the right. It drops in. Backman had to hold up to make sure it wasn't caught, so he'll stay at second. Brings up Mookie Wilson. Strawberry on deck. Line drive over the third baseman's head, down the line. That'll be extra bases. The throw in. Runners on second and third, and the game is tied. Strawberry on first now, and Howard Johnson comes about with the bases loaded. Danny Heap on deck. Ground ball to second with the infield in. The home for 1. Double play. Mets gonna Met. We did tie the score, but Mets gonna Met. Couldn't get a run in with bases loaded and 1 out. Couldn't get a run in. Couldn't get another run in. Bases loaded with 1 out. Double play. RJ Reynolds flies out to left. 2 outs for Joe Orsulak. 1-0 count. Roger McDowell in the game now for the Mets. Gets a ground ball to short. Santana fields it and over to first. Retires the side. Bottom of the 9th. Danny Heap. Ground ball to first. Unassisted by the first baseman for 1 out. Kevin World Mitchell. 1 out and a 2-0 count. Line drive down the line. That should be extra bases. Might even be a triple as the right fielder's slow to get to it. Mitchell rounding second. Oh my goodness. Mets are gonna Met every time. Mets gonna Met every time. Even 86 Mets. Come on. Toogie, thank you for the raid. Welcome in, Raiders. We are doing a Mother's Day stream tonight, featuring my late mother's favorite team, the 86 Mets, and her 2 favorite players cloned over and over. Toogie, hope you had a good stream. You can't quit trying to win with Jamarcus Russell. He broke the single season interception record with 43. Amazing. Amazing. I have to ask, how much does he weigh now? What season are you in, and how much does he weigh now? $285, okay. Look, not to body shame anybody, but he's a professional athlete, and he, I think pretty famously, let himself go. You don't think weight is dynamic, so still $285, okay. All right, so that aspect of the game, that aspect is not recreated in the game then. Okay. So yeah, in honor of Mother's Day, I wanted to take my late mother's favorite team, the 86 Mets, and we duplicated some her 2 favorite players, Gary Carter and Ron Darling. We added multiple Gary Carters to this team and multiple Ron Darlings. Usually I would bring them in from other eras, but we just cloned them. So multiple versions of the 86 Gary Carter and the 86 Ron Darling around this team. Yeah, Gary Carter is a great favorite player. I think she also liked that he seemed like a good guy too. She was real big on that. That like he was good on the field, but she liked that he seemed like a good person too. Yeah, loaf of bread. The Astros Mets NLCS was amazing. Um, I still think about that series a lot, and frankly, a little surprising the Mets were able to get past Mike Scott, because Mike Scott was just a steamroller that year. So hope you guys all had good Mother's Days. Hope you remembered to call your moms. If you have kids, I hope you wished your significant other a happy Mother's Day. Yeah, I think the way it worked out was they faced him once, but didn't have to face him twice. I think was the deal there. Um, but also think about the pitchers in that postseason. Like Roger Clemens for the Red Sox was having an amazing season. Mike Scott was just having an all-time season, having learned that split finger fastball. Former Met, by the way, Mike Scott, and lots of like late game heroics. Um, I think the sad one was the Angels. Yeah, I was about to say the Dave Henderson off Donnie Moore. The darker side of that one is, of course, Donnie Moore later would take his own life. Um, but like that was a huge home run. The Mets had a couple of dramatic wins over the Astros, and then of course the '86 World Series was crazy. Um, in fact, Game Six so crazy that like the 1980 Olympic hockey game, U.S. versus Russia, sometimes people forget there was another game after that that the Mets and the U.S. had to win. That and the Mets, of course, fell behind in Game Seven too. So just a crazy postseason. Um, but you know, my parents are not huge baseball fans. I think they started following the Mets because I was watching them so intently in '85 and '86, and of course, we were living in New Jersey, so it was just a huge story as the Mets, approached the postseason in '86, and yeah, so they watched all the playoff games with me, and by the end of the season, they were uh, pretty big fans. Really enjoyed the World Series. Had a great time watching it with them, and we're Japanese. Ron Darling's from Hawaii, and I believe has some Asian ancestry. So I think that's part of why she liked Ron Darling. We also ran into Ron Darling once in the city. We're in New York, visiting a sushi restaurant that was near where my dad worked, and so we went there, fairly regularly. Like, considering it was pretty far away, we went there, a few times a year. We were coming in, and he was going out, and we are like, "Was that Ron Darling?" And it was, and so that was pretty cool. So I think that also contributed to him being one of her favorite players. Yeah, Mike Scott. I think part of why he's forgotten was he was a bit of a flash in the pan. He was unhittable for a couple years, but he was not. He was a former Met. He did nothing with the Mets, and I think it was Roger Craig who taught him the splitter, and that made him. And and don't get me wrong, you still have to be good to throw the splitter. It's not like anyone can learn the splitter and become 1986 Mike Scott. So, still good on him. He was overpowering for a couple of years, but I think it's the short duration of that makes him kind of an afterthought for some people, but I think for those of us who watched him pitch that year, it's hard to forget that. Well, that's true. That's true. They were scuffing the ball quite a bit. I don't think the Mets were immune to that either. I know Rick Aguilera was accused of that quite a bit, and he started throwing the splitter around then. Ron Darling threw a splitter, and I know there were other teams talking about was Darling scuffing the ball too. But yeah, Mike Scott, those that year in particular, but also I can't remember if it was the year before, the year after. He had a couple of like really productive seasons that I like to remember. Um, but we talk a lot about, especially on the perfect team side, like there are players and seasons that transcend eras and don't transcend eras, and I think Mike Scott, it seems like that season should transcend eras, but it might not. Loaf of Bread, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. So yeah, we're wrapping this up. We're now in the this is well, not quite wrapping up. We're wrapping up the regular season. This is the final game of the season. We're at 107 wins, which is what the AI predicted for this team. 108 wins is what this team actually won. And so if we win this last game of the season, we will match the original 1986 Mets win total. But the crazy thing is we added Gary Carter. We replaced the backup catcher with a Gary Carter. We replaced 37-year-old George Foster with a Gary Carter, who did play left field that year. We replaced a bunch of like kind of scrubby relief pitchers with clones of Ron Darling. And we're still trying to tie the original Mets record. So I thought we might do a little bit better than that with these upgrades, but apparently not. All right, so let's resume the sim here. All right, so we are in the bottom of the ninth, tied 2-2. Gary Carter 3, who was the second clone. We added we'd added some left field ability to him based on the fact that he played left and right field that year. So the way I recall it was that Kevin Mitchell came up during the season. Foster was playing left field for most of the season. Kevin Mitchell was also playing infield back then too, and that's where his nickname World came from. At least from what I recall, because he played everywhere. So Kevin World Mitchell. But the game has already been simmed. The AI is in charge of it, and so we're just watching the highlights. So I can't pinch hit for anybody. I can't make any decisions. The game's already in the books. We just don't know what happened yet. And so we're just watching the highlights. So yeah, Kevin Mitchell already came in as a pinch hitter. So he must have gotten out, and we're at Gary Carter with 2 outs and a 1-1 count. Fly ball to left, and that's going to be an easy out to end the inning, and we're headed to bonus baseball. Top of the 10th. Yeah, well, of course, Mets are going to Met. As soon as he leaves, he becomes amazing. Just like most players who came to the Mets back then would become terrible. Juan Samuel comes to mind. He had 28 home runs for the Phillies, I think, the year before the Mets acquired him. He never did that again. Carlos Baerga was a decent hitting second baseman. Came to the Mets, didn't do anything. This is the last era, actually, of players coming to the Mets and doing well. Keith Hernandez came from the Cardinals. Gary Carter came from the Expos. They actually did something with the Mets. Anyone we acquired after this was like a bust. Kevin McReynolds acquired Kevin McReynolds trying to fill that hole in left field that was like George Foster, Danny Heap, sometimes Mookie Wilson, when Mookie Wilson wasn't platooning with Len Dykstra. And then McReynolds was like disappointing. He was also one of those players who it turned out would rather be fishing and hunting back home in Arkansas than playing baseball, and it kind of showed. All right, Mike Diaz leading off the top of the 10th. Sinker baller Roger McDowell in the game for the Mets. Righty-righty matchup. Ground ball up the middle past Rafael Santana for the base hit. Oh, and it gets past Len Dykstra in the outfield for the error. Gives up the extra base, and we lose the chance at a double play. I did play Stratomatic Baseball growing up. Good guess. Roger McDowell facing Bill Allman. Grounder to second. Gets the out, but the runner advances to third. And that brings up Skinny Barry Bonds. Still dangerous. See, the infield's in. I would have been walking him. I mean, Johnny Ray's a good hitter too, but I would have been walking him. But it's already in the books. I don't know what happens, but it's already done. And shows what I know. Pops him up to third. Nicely done. All right, Johnny Ray got on somehow. Must have been a walk because Diaz is still at third. And we go to Mike Brown up with 2 outs and a 1-2 count. Fly ball to right. Strawberry comes in and gets the out. All right, McDowell gets out of that jam. We're headed to the bottom of the 10th. 3-1 count for Len Dykstra. Draws a walk. Scott K had a similar game. Season Ticket Baseball 2003. That's interesting. I never heard of that one. There was a period, though, where I wasn't that into baseball, and that was during that period. So I would not have been... I definitely wouldn't have been aware of what games were available then. Was that a computerized game, Scott K, or... Because Stratomatic was a card and dice game. But by 2003, I would assumed everything would be computerized by then. All right, Wally Backman, 0-1 count. Was that a bunt? Nice, advances the runner. 1 out and a 2-2 count. Runner in scoring position. A PC game. Keith Hernandez. Line drive to left. That's going to drop in, but the runner had to hold up to make sure it wasn't caught, so he may not score. Yep, they have to hold him. First and third with 1 out. A 3-0 count to Ray Knight. Draws the walk, bases loaded with 1 out. Again, this is to tie the Mets' original season record of 108 wins. Last game of the season. Darryl Strawberry. Fly ball to right. Should be deep enough to score the runner. Is it a walk-off sac fly? It sure is. And the Mets win it. Nicely done. 3-2 in 10. Walk-off sac fly by Darryl Strawberry. All right. That will end the regular season. Let's go to the standings view and make it official by finishing the day. All right, let's check out the stats, see how my mom's favorite players did. Okay, the original Ron Darling, 13-8 with a 3.51 ERA. The first clone, Ron Darling, went 14-8 with a 3.72. We have some Ron Darlings in the bullpen. Darling 3, very little usage, 12 2/3, 0.71 ERA. Ron Darling 4, 37 innings, 3.38 ERA. And Ron Darling 5, 8. Yeah, look how few innings the relievers pitched. And all the starters, 3 of them over 270 innings. Sid Fernandez predicted to be one of the top 10 pitchers in the league. Only went 15-15. Ojeda went 22-6, and Gooden went 24-6. And this is a Gooden who in real life only went, I think, 18-6. So this is a pretty big improvement for him. And the 2 Darlings actually did pretty well. 5 and 6 wins over 500. So I think Mom would have been happy with that. All right, let's check out the batters. Gary Carter won the catcher, 30 home runs. I think 5 more than he actually hit. 270 average, 822 OPS, and he did make the All-Star game early in the season. The left field Gary Carter underperformed a bit. 20 home runs, 251 average, 802 OPS. And Gary Carter was just the backup, but in a backup role, hit 287 with an 801 OPS. I'm sure much better than we would have gotten from Ed Hearn, so that was a big upgrade there as well. And let's head to the postseason. All right, AL's going to start things off. It's the Blue Jays versus the Rangers. Oh, actually, let's see how the so the Blue Jays won 99 games, finished 1 game ahead of the Tigers, and the Rangers finished ahead of the Angels. So the Red Sox, who the Mets faced in the World Series, didn't even finish at 500, 73 and 89. The game would have been also called Out of the Park Baseball 4. Oh, interesting. You can't put links in the chat, but you can whisper it to me, and I'll be able to take a look. Yes, no, for sure. Dave Steve, for sure. And I think there are several good pieces on YouTube talking about how statistically, if you use modern statistics to look at 80s pitching, that Dave Steve is like the best pitcher in the AL. And probably should have won at least a couple, if not more, Cy Young awards. And I was an early Bill James fan, partly because of Stratomatic, and some of the older kids introduced me to Bill James stuff. And so we were all like big Dave Steve fans because I think we understood some of those stats beyond wins and losses in ERA, how good he was. First game you ever saw in person he was pitching, you were bailing out behind the plate watching his slider. That's amazing. So in the NL, things held true to history here as the Mets and Astros advance, but the AL is completely different. The Red Sox not even close, and it's the Blue Jays representing the AL East, and the Rangers actually beat out the Angels. So it's the Rangers will be representing the AL West. And who knows what would have happened in his life, but I can't help but think like the Angels aren't in the playoffs. And so Donnie Moore never gives up that home run. And so then is Donnie Moore still alive in this timeline? Like you never know what else is going to happen, but I mean that was such a tragic story. I still think about that. Anyway, the NL is the NL that was in the playoffs. The AL though completely different, so we'll have to see how this plays out. But yeah, I was not expecting these two teams here when I pulled up the scores view. All right, we're going to quick play these games until we get to maybe an elimination game for our Mets. The Rangers win 6-5. Steve takes the loss, and a 2-run. Oh wow, was Steve still in the ninth then? Because oh no, I see. Sorry, the Rangers lost. The Blue Jays tried to make it close. They scored 1 in the 8th and 2 in the bottom of the 9th, but couldn't catch up. All right. NL's going to be in action now. We'll watch game 2 of the ALCS as the Blue Jays come back to win 8-1. Ernie Witt and George Bell go yard. Jim Clancy gets the win and player of the game. Clancy with a complete game, 1 earned run, 5 hits, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. And the NLCS starts play. Gooden versus Scott. What a matchup. 4-1. Mike Scott takes the loss. Gooden gets the win. Let's see the pitching lines here. Competing complete games. Scott strikes out 7, gives up 4 earned, 5 hits, and 5 walks. Gooden, 1 earned, 5 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. A lot of walks between those two. That's unexpected. All right, AL is going to be on a travel day as the NL moves to Game 2. Nolan Ryan against Sid Fernandez. Man, these pitching matchups. Mets win 4-2, scoring 2 in the bottom of the ninth, walking it off. Wow. Clutch hit from backup catcher Gary Carter, too. He was the clone of Gary Carter we brought in to replace Ed Hearn as the backup catcher. Two-run bomb in the bottom of the ninth from our backup catcher, Gary Carter, too. That's awesome. Oh, Mom would be so happy with that. That's awesome. Oh, she would have loved that. That's nice. All right. Okay, thank you, Scott. I'll take a look at that. It might be after the stream, but I'll definitely take a look. Thank you for sending. Carter was a god in Canada with the Expos. Oh, I bet he was. I bet he was. The Mets did get to enjoy the last few really good years of his career, but yeah, what he did with the Expos for sure. All right, NL's on a travel day, tied up at 1. AL resumes, tied up at 1. Blue Jays win 8-3. Scott K, thank you for the follow as well. I appreciate that. Let's see. Barfield and Garcia go yard. And is this Doyle Alexander? It is Doyle Alexander. Doyle Alexander gets the W. Yeah, in Stratomatic, Barfield had a -5 arm, which is the best arm you could have. There are usually like 1 or 2 -5s each season, and Barfield pretty much had one every time. All right, the AL is going to resume action now the NL is going to resume action now as well, with the Mets up 2-0. Toronto wins 4-3 to take a pretty commanding 3-1 series lead. Jimmy Key with the win. Beats Mike Witt. Tom Hankey, the Terminator, gets the save. No runs after the 5th inning. Just shut down. Oh, you know what? I don't have a Discord command, but I can send you... I'll send you a link to my Discord. Let me pull that up. I was advised by other streamers to not put the Discord link in the channel because of bots, so let me just whisper it back to you. There's the link. I see the link you sent me to. I appreciate that. Oh, it might... Did it not send? Alright, every once in a while I have this problem where... Twitch doesn't think I'm signed in, even though it's letting me stream and it's recording the VOD and everything. Let me try that again. Okay, let me see if I can usually do this from my alt. So let me do this. You know what? I'm going to put it in the chat. Bots be damned. If there are bots, they'll have my Discord link. There you go. While Twitch is glitching. I did get your whisper, though. It's just not letting me send any whispers for some reason. It might be an issue, too, because sometimes when that happens, it won't let me raid. So hopefully it'll still let me raid out. Okay, so Toronto up 3-1. Game 3 of the NLCS upcoming. Ojeda versus Nepper. This is where I think the Mets start to get the advantage. When you get to the 3rd, 4th, and 5th starters. But, yeah, the Astros top line starters with Scott and Ryan. Pretty tough to beat. Oh, and just as I say that, we lose to Bob Nepper. Jeez. 5-2 loss to Bob Nepper in game 3. I jinxed that. I totally jinxed that by disparaging the back end of their rotation. All right, Toronto looking to close out the Rangers to make it to the World Series. The Rangers win 10-5, forcing a game 6. And the Mets, okay, this one's for Mom. Ron Darling won. This is the original Ron Darling facing Jim Deshaies. Yes! There you go. 8-3 win. Darling gets the win. A 1.00 postseason ERA. Player of the game, Ron Darling. A complete game. 7 hits, 1 earned, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. Darryl Strawberry goes 3 for 5 with a bomb and 2 RBI, 2 runs scored. All right, this postseason's going pretty well for Mom. Gary Carter had the walk-off 2-run home run. Ron Darling gets a big win here in Game 4 to take a 3-1 series lead. And I think we have... Oh, you know what we forgot to do? I forgot to go to a 4-man rotation for the postseason. Because Gooden should be rested by now. Yeah, so we are going to do that. 4-man rotation. We'll send Darling 2 to the bullpen, where he will be... Let's set him up as a setup starting in the 7th inning. And we'll leave everything else the same. McDowell-Orozco combination has been going pretty well, so we're going to leave that as it is. Okay, and then let's save our progress so far just in case. Yeah, well, yeah. Richard, I mean, he was still alive, but he had that stroke that pretty much ended his career. Yeah, that, and he was dominant, a flamethrower. Kind of more of a modern-ish pitcher ahead of his time, I guess. Like, just that he would fit in right now in a modern pitching staff, just throwing gas. All right, let's continue the championship series. AL on a travel day. NL going to game 5. Gooden against Scott. Again, ace versus ace. Oh, it takes 11 innings, but top of the 11th, 2 runs to win it. 3-1. And I think it's fitting that neither Gooden nor Scott could get the win there. They both battled, and it went to the bullpens. Scott went 7 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned, 12 strikeouts. This is vintage 86 Mike Scott here. 12 Ks, 7 innings, only 3 hits, no walks. This is what the Mets faced in the 86 NLCS. Gooden, 8 innings, 1 run not earned, 5 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. But McDowell and Orozco clean in extra innings to get the win and the save. All right, so there we go. Mets advance to the World Series. Let's figure out who's going to represent the AL as they come off their travel day. Jim Clancy, 1-0 with a 1.00 postseason ERA, facing Mike Mason of the Rangers. Home game for the Blue Jays. And the Rangers win 4-0. A 4-hit shutout of the Blue Jays, forcing a game 7. Pete O'Brien for the Rangers goes 3 for 4 with 2 RBI. Clancy, not a bad outing, but I mean, Mike Mason, untouchable on the other side. All right, game 7. Here we go. And all the while, the Mets are resting and resetting their rotation. So, Charlie Huff against Doyle Alexander. Huff roughed up in his other outing, 11.57 postseason ERA. The Rangers take it 8-4 Despite a home run by Jesse Barfield, home runs by Porter and 2 by Ruben Sierra power them to an 8-4 win. Boo! Boo for the Rangers win. Yeah, the 65-mile-per-hour fastball, but mostly that knuckleball, I think, with Huff. All right. The matchup is set. It's the Mets Rangers, with the Red Sox not even making the postseason in this sim. All right, we didn't have a chance to fully reset the rotation as it's Sid Fernandez taking the mound for the Mets. But the Mets win 5-1. Gary Carter 3, our left field version of Gary Carter. He did play left and right field that year. So we gave one of the Gary Carter some corner outfield ability. It goes 2 for 3 with 2 home runs. Oh, Mom would be happy with that. Gary Carter having a good postseason here. Sid Fernandez, 8 innings, 7 hits, 5 walks. Lots of base runners, but only 1 earned run and 9 strikeouts. All right, game 2. Also at Shea. It's Gooden against Bobby Witt. Mets win 12-3. Gooden gets the win, lowers his postseason ERA to a very nice 0.69. And Gary Carter 3, the left fielder, again goes yard twice. Did he just go yard twice in back-to-back games? Man. Amazing. Yeah, definitely Mother's Day luck for sure. Oh, wait, I just exited the game by mistake. Fortunately, when you exit it, it saves. I meant to skip to the next day. Good thing it auto-saves when you exit. Sorry about that. Let's continue the game. We should pick up right where we left off. I would hate to lose those Gary Carter games because I clicked the wrong thing. Yeah, okay, we still have that Carter game. Thank goodness. Oh, how disappointing would that be if I lost this Mother's Day save where Mom's favorite player is killing it? Okay, I meant to go here and say finish today. Okay, we have a travel day. We're headed to Texas. And it's Ojeda versus Mason. Mason, who threw the gem against the Blue Jays to get the Rangers here to the World Series. Mets win 5-0. Wow, Bobby Ojeda with a 9-inning shut piece. Scattering 5 hits and 3 walks. Getting 8 strikeouts, too. Not a power pitcher, but Ojeda getting 8 strikeouts versus the Rangers. All right, on the cusp of a sweep. Ron Darling, oh, Mom's favorite pitcher against Charlie Huff. This would be perfect if Ron Darling gets the clinching win. Oh, it's a 10-7 loss. Darling gets the L as they get 5 in the bottom of the 5th. Despite a home run by Strawberry, 10-7. Forcing a game 5. All right, Sid Fernandez against Ed Correa. This is a rematch of game 1. This is another elimination game for the Rangers as they hang on to force another game. Let's see if the Mets can finish them off. Oh, they win another. 11-2 this time. 5 in the bottom of they're just putting up some big innings now after the first few games. Yeah, they are doing another comeback. All right, travel day. Let's see if the Mets can regroup here. Headed back to Shea. It is Gooden versus Witt. Get Gooden 2-0 with a very nice .69 postseason ERA. There we go. 5-2 win. Strawberry with the home run. Let's see how Carter did. in this game. Carter 0 for 3 with an RBI. Carter 3 playing left field 1 for 3 with a walk. All right. Mets win the World Series. They still win the World Series. They matched their win total exactly with 108 for the regular season. We do have to check out the postseason awards for our pack giveaway. So let's do that. Let's go watch the awarding of the trophy here. I think Ken Griffey Jr. got the gigantism, didn't he? On The Simpsons. There it is. There's a trophy. It looks very different without any wildcard teams, but we'll take it. And then let me screenshot this too before I forget. Yeah, Strawberry Griffey Jr. Mattingly with the sideburns. I remember that. Was Mike Scioscia the catcher? For some reason, I think Mike Scioscia was the catcher. Ozzie Smith, I think, was on that squad as well. Okay, let's go. Postseason awards, we'll watch those from the mailbox, I think. Great Glove Awards. All right, NL Great Gloves. Keith Hernandez. Carter did not get one. Tony Pena gets it from the Pirates. I would say Mom would be disappointed, but she's actually probably so happy with the World Series championship, she wouldn't really care. Reliever of the Year. Do we have a candidate? Is Roger McDowell in the running here, do we think? 9-4, 37 saves, 2.66 ERA. The rest of the stats are good. The AI might not like that ERA, but let's see what happens. I think we have an outside chance at it. Oh, McDowell does win. Nice. 11 first place votes. 9 for Charlie Kerfeld, who finishes third. And 6 for Bedrock, Steve Bedrosian, who finishes second. So that's interesting. Bedrosian had fewer first place votes. Finishes tied with McDowell with 78 points, but McDowell wins, I believe, because he had more first place votes. What a tight reliever. That's the tightest reliever of the year race we've seen. Dead heat for total points, but McDowell wins it on first place votes. Wow. What was Bedrosian's season like? 6-10, 35 saves, 2.45 ERA. Kerfeld was, as a setup man, 4-2, 2 saves, 0.69 ERA. The Yankees won the World Series the year before Mattingly played for the Yankees in 1981 and won the year after he retired in 1996, and nothing in between when he played. That's kind of amazing for a guy who was such a good ball player, too. Before he had his back problems, when he was at the height of his powers in the early 80s, God, he was a fearsome hitter. That, like, coiled up batting stance and just ripping line drives. All right. Let's see. What's next? We did one of the Really Year Platinum Stick Awards. We might be up for a couple here. Maybe Gary Carter here. Yeah, there you go, Mom. Gary Carter won a basically a Silver Slugger award. No other Mets, but the important one goes to the Mets. Gary Carter, 270 average, 300 home runs, 104 RBI. Yeah, also, Loverbread, how many doubles that season? He was a doubles machine from what I recall. Don Mattingly. Okay, Rookie of the Year. I think Dykstra might be in the running for this. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you're not going to beat Bonds. Oh, no, I think Dykstra was the Rookie of the Year before. So Bonds takes it. Wow, he had a down year though. 29 home runs, 234 average. What did he do in real life that year? Oh no, okay, that's pretty true to form. He hit 223, but he only hit 16 home runs. So he has a power surge to win the Rookie of the Year. Nice. Yeah, 48 doubles to go with 35 home runs. That's craziness. And one of those years, I think Dave Winfield also hit 340 right alongside him. So that's a pretty good combo. Cy Young Award. Okay, who are Gooden's probably a pretty good bet here with 24 and 6, 235 strikeouts, 3.36. The ERA might be a little high. Ojeda's at 22 and 6 with a 2.64. But they might fall. They might lose it to someone like Mike Scott too. No, Ojeda takes it. Scott gets 4 first place votes. Gooden gets no first place votes and finishes third. Scott went 22 and 10, 303 strikeouts, 2.58 ERA, but the AI might not have loved those 10 losses. So yeah, Ojeda takes the Cy Young. And then the last one's the MVP. Who are our candidates here? Ray Knight had a great season, but he was being platoon versus lefties, so he had a 940 OPS and hit 344, but he will not be in the running. Mookie Wilson had a huge season, 324 with an 859 OPS, 36 stolen bases. Strawberry with 21 home runs, 273 average, 858 OPS, went 2040 with 40 steals. I think actually our Gary Carter 1 might be our best bet. 30 home runs, 104 RBI, 270 average, 822 OPS. But I doubt any of those stat lines is going to hold up to win the MVP. There had to have been better seasons in the NL than that. I think Carter might finish in the top 5. Yeah, Gwynn. Let's see what Gwynn's season looked like. Gwynn hit 388. Back when people cared a lot about batting average. He wins the MVP. 20 first place votes. Eric Davis gets the other 6. Davis hit 39 bombs and a 291 average. And none of the Mets finished in the top 5. Gary Carter finished 2, 4, 6, 8, 9th with 47 points. Strawberry finishes even further back than that. And Backman gets 2 points in MVP votes. What did Backman do? He had 320 in real life. He had 340 in this sim. So, yeah. All right. Well, we have enough information now that I think we can do our pack giveaway. We're giving away packs for our Huff got no points. Let's go back and look at the Cy Young voting for Huff. AL Cy Young. Mike Witt. Yeah, Huff got no points, no votes. Jimmy Key came in second, 22 and 6 with a 3.24. No Dave Steve though. What did Steve do? Steve went, whoa, only 10 and 10. Now, what did he do in real life that year? Oh, yeah, that was when he went 7 and 12 with a 4.74. So it did actually sim him relatively close to his actual performance. And then he would go on to bounce back and have really good seasons in 88 through 90. But definitely he was having an off season compared to his dominant seasons in the early 80s. All right, let's give away some packs. We always have a pack giveaway guessing game to give away packs for our perfect team, which is the competitive card collecting side of Other Park Baseball. And let's see, we only had 3 entrants tonight, so pretty good chances to win packs for you guys. Let me get the guesses ready here. I have to resize some stuff and make it viewable. We have a pretty long tie-breaking process. Usually it's more important when we have more people in. I think we had 10 people last night. This is a much lighter crowd tonight. And we do use the same form for lots of different games and simulations. So some of the questions might seem ridiculous, like, is this team going to finish last in the majors? But sometimes that's a relevant question. All right, no one thought they would finish last in the majors, which is good because they were actually best in the majors. No one thought they'd have the worst NL record, which is good. No one thought they'd finish last in the division. We did have one person think they'd finish sub 500, so they unfortunately are eliminated. Will they take the playoffs? Yes, they did. So Leopard wins the packs for first place. And also had the best guess for total wins. So well earned. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hide those columns because second place is determined by the next section. But Leopard has already won. So they are already walking away with 7 packs. And let me resize these so they all fit on the screen. Okay, how many games behind will they finish? Well, it was 0, so Skyrolla is actually closest with 11. This is games behind in the division. Okay, the next 6 questions are based on when you hover over the team, it shows you where they ranked in the majors in 3 offensive and 3 defensive categories. And I'm going to make note of those here in a notepad file. All right, offensive categories, they finished 10th in runs, 14th in average, and 15th in RBIs. Kind of in the middle of the pack. 10, 14, 15. And then defensive categories. 3rd in ERA, 2nd in strikeouts, 3rd in defensive efficiency. So definitely a much more defensive-focused team for the 86 Mets. All right, so run scored 10th. Kitty Poo Poo takes that one. Batting average 14th. Skyrolla 1 closer. Home runs 15th. Skyrolla 2 closer. Defensive categories, ERA, 3rd. Kitty Poo Poo, not close, but closest. Strikeouts thrown, 2nd. Leopard, by the way, would have nailed that one, 2nd. Kitty Poo Poo, again, not close, but closest. And then defensive efficiency, 3rd. Skyrolla. This is a pretty close race here. It's 4-3 right now. All right, the next question is the highest batter WAR on this team. That was, wow, this is a surprise. I would not have guessed this name if you gave me 5 guesses. 4.9 batter WAR by Wally Backman. 4.9. Skyrolla closer to 3.4. And you know what? Maybe I should have guessed that because he did hit 340 and he played second base. And WAR is position dependent. And second base is usually one of the weaker offensive positions. Okay. Home run leader for this team, it was Mom's favorite, Gary Carter 1, the original catching Gary Carter. Skyrola, closer there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far for Skyrola, 3 for Kitty Poo Poo. The lowest and highest batting averages on the team. Minimum 300 plate appearances. The lowest is Rafael Santana. I think he had 218 in real life. He had 224 in this sim. So 224. Oh, look at this. Skyrola 223. What a guess. Almost on the money. Highest batting average. Ray Knight missed the plate appearance cutoff by 5. He had 295 plate appearances. So Wally Backman takes it with 340. 340. Kitty Poo Poo, not close, but closest. With a 298 guess. All right, highest and lowest OPS. Again, minimum 300 plate appearances. 300 plate appearances. Lowest OPS, Santana, 537. Kitty Poo Poo, a little bit closer. One was way high, one was way low. And then the highest OPS, 300 plate appearances, is Ray Knight with a... No, Ray Knight didn't qualify. Sorry. Mookie Wilson, 859. And Kitty Poo Poo gets that. Skyrola did say he put some random guesses in some of them, so I think that's where the OPSs were off. 6 now for Kitty Poo Poo, 7 for Skyrola as we head to the last offensive category, which is the worst strikeout percentage. We need to go batting stats 2 for that. Oops, that's batting stats 1. This happened the other day too, where it's having a hard time picking up my mouse click. Okay, 25.3 by Howard Johnson. Struck out a quarter of the time. 25.3. Skyrola, closest. Extends the lead a little bit. All right, now we go to the pitching categories. Highest pitcher WAR. I think those guesses are going to be a little bit low. Dwight Gooden with a 7.3. But Skyrola, not close, but closest, 2.8. All right, now we've got strikeouts thrown. That was Sid Fernandez with 258. Skyrola closest there. No one guessed over 200, though. We actually had 3 pitchers finish with over 200 strikeouts. All right, highest and lowest ERA. Minimum 100 innings pitched. Highest ERA, Ron Darling, number 2, with a 3.72. Both overshot, but Skyrola was the closest. And then the lowest ERA, 100 innings pitched, Bob Ojeda, 2.64. That goes to Kitty Poo Poo. And then we have whips, highest and lowest whips. Highest whip of 100 innings is Ron Darling 1 with a 1.32. Skyrola gets that one. And the lowest whip, 1.14. So Skyrola got the high guesses. Kitty Poo Poo got the low guesses. And the last question is the worst home runs per 9. This is a much lower home run era. And it was Ron Darling 2 with a 0.8. So Skyrola. Skyrola's going to take it. Congratulations on the second place. That's 3 packs for Skyrola. First place, of course, we already had Leopard, 119, and Skyrola gets second. All right. Thanks, everybody. Congratulations to our winners. I hope you all had a good time. I think Mom would have been pleased. The Mets won. Gary Carter did great. in the regular season. Garrett Carter had some big home runs in the postseason. Ron Darling had good seasons in the regular season, pitched well in the postseason. So, yeah, for me, that was a very fun and successful Mother's Day stream. Next season, what I'm going to try to do is get some of my other OTP affiliate streamers to let me know their mother's favorite players and build the whole roster of our mother's favorite players, which I think will be a good time. But we have some time to prepare for that. All right. I don't think Smiley Face Jane is going on. I haven't heard from her. So we are going to raid into... Well, first, let me make sure no one else is streaming OOTP. Yep, it's just us. Okay. So we're going to raid to one of my favorite raid destinations when there's a sumo tournament going on. Is Midnight Sumo. They are a Canadian streamer who does English language commentary of live Japanese sumo tournaments. These sumo tournaments are a big deal in Japan. They're about 2 weeks long. Lots of tradition. Lots of focus from around the entire country on it. And just kind of a very cool, traditional, unique sport to Japan. And his commentary helps people make it more accessible for people who don't speak or understand Japanese. So you'll still hear the original Japanese commentary. He'll speak over it and let you know what's going on. And then also kind of fun, during the commercial breaks from the original coverage, he plays vintage Japanese commercials, which are kind of fun and crazy. And a disproportionate number of them feature Tommy Lee Jones for some reason. So hope you enjoy that. During this 2 weeks, we'll probably raid into him quite a bit. And those of you who came for the raid and who are really active in the chat today, I really appreciate it. And hope maybe we'll see you again. I stream most nights, 10 p.m. Pacific time, and also Friday afternoons at 4 p.m. Pacific. And I only stream Out of the Park baseball, so it's baseball all the time when I'm streaming. All right, have a good night, everybody. Hope you wished your mothers, whether it's your own mom or the mother in your life, a happy Mother's Day. And hope to see you tomorrow.